guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Fuse Travels, and today I want to talk about 4 weird things that I'm using ChatGPT for as a 40-something-year-old. Actually, I'm 46, and I like to share tips on not only traveling to Europe, but also on this phase of my life now, which is weird. It's almost like you're in a vacuum in a way because you're starting empty nesting, you're going through the menopause crap, but the kids haven't left yet, and then you're learning how to become a parent of an adult, which is a strange thing, especially when they're not on their own yet. So lots is happening in life. I'm very grateful that I get to travel, that I have a great job at the moment. But of course, there's things in life like anxiety. I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD, which is completely new to me. I have another video coming up on that. So life has been a huge balancing act lately, and there's just a lot going on. You know, my husband's going through some things too with his midlife stuff. My son in the last year has had some health issues. So let's get to it. 4 things. I'm gonna say a couple of these things are controversial, so let's start with a very controversial one. Number one thing is, I guess I'm gonna call it medical advice, not advice, but feedback. Okay, I'm not saying replace your doctor with ChatGPT. Now, before ChatGPT, what happens when we had symptoms and when we had a few things? We would go to Google. The problem with Google is that Google always was very scary. It was either the C word or you're gonna die and just weird. So what I started doing with ChatGPT is actually getting ChatGPT to help me read blood work results. Now this actually started with my son. Last year, he was diagnosed with alopecia. I'm going to do a separate video about that and that journey, what that's been like. He had it once when he was a child, just one spot. But last year, something triggered to become alopecia universalis. Now, this also had some other weird things happening. So alopecia is autoimmune disease where basically your immune system tells your hair follicles to fall out. He became completely bald. He's lost his eyelash. That hasn't grown back yet. Part of the eyebrow and just starts going down your body. So he also had tested for very low white blood cells. So low that as low as chemo patients. So scary stuff. He had to go to hematologist, which was also scary because my son actually faints when he gets blood work done. He's gotten a lot better at that. And I'm laughing because it's just ironic, right? So with all that, there came a lot of lab work, a lot of blood work of things that I did not understand. And he had to get blood work every 3 months. So you also have to compare the first blood work when the dermatologist first asked him, he was at school in Orlando, to do the blood work, and then following blood work, then also hematologist, right? So the first time I did this, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Cause then I could actually got screenshots because I couldn't download the PDF of the blood work, and I input it into ChatGPT, and the prompt was just like, can you summarize these results? Tell me what's off, and what are the next steps or what is needed. So ChatGPT does a really good job of doing that. Then I did it for my hormone test that I recently got in Brazil. And I honestly thought ChatGPT was going to be way off because they said my hormone test came back post-menopause. I don't even know if I was in perimenopause. What do you mean post-menopause? Anyway, back to my son and the lab work. So basically the prompt is read these results, tell me what's low, what's high, summarize this. And then the cool thing is that ChatGPT will then, and I forgot to say that I have the pro version. So then when I asked more questions, it actually also prompted me to have questions for the doctor as a follow-up. Now let's pause here because I'm not saying, ChatGPT is your doctor. Please, if you're going through something, go to your doctor, go get second opinions and all that jazz. So it's not really medical advice. It's more of feedback and help me read these lab results, which could also be very complicated. It can be confusing, etc. So for me, it has worked out really well, especially with my son, especially in keeping track, because another prompt that you could do is okay, put the summary or compare the last 3 results and put it in an Excel file for me to have that I could download and upload to Google Drive, because I do like using Google Docs a lot. I don't use Notion, Airtable, none of that. I'm all about a Google girl, Google Docs, Excel sheets, etc. Another thing with the whole medical thing that I've done is basically, now that I've been diagnosed with ADHD, I'm looking up more information on the medicine and how does that medicine correlate with my antidepressive medicine. And yes, my psychiatrist has told me that, but I like to do a little further study. So let's say if I wanted to take something else, how do all these things are okay. So for example, hormone replacement therapy, right? Because with my blood work, my hormones were post-menopause. I want to see like, okay, how does hormone replacement therapy play with when you are taking this medicine and this medicine? So it could give you just some insight. Of course, consult with your doctors and ask, right? But it's important for you to know also your medical history and just keep in mind moving forward. I mean, even supplements, I think one can ask and it could be interesting. So that was number one. It's a little controversial because if you're a doctor and you're seeing this, you're probably like, hey, be careful. Yes, you want to double check. You want to ask, of course, your medical professional, etc. Number two could maybe also be a little controversial is coaching or pep talk. So for example, I was feeling a little down and overwhelmed yesterday because I was trying to film my Italy audio planning guide, which is coming. So this is something I said I was going to launch earlier this year. And guess what? May 5th today, and I haven't launched it. So I basically went to ChatGPT in the voice saying, hey, you know, I struggle with, I work too much, I over worry. Can you give me a pep talk? Because I really want to get this done this weekend, but I also want to have some me time or, you know, have just some balance. So it came back with a really good voice note and like just give me a pep talk of like balancing and how to celebrate the little wins. And I have an upcoming trip. So it reminded me, hey, save your energy for this upcoming trip and don't like be down on yourself. It's like pep talk, lifestyle thing. So I've seen Mel Robbins talk about this too, where, you know, you can do a prompt in ChatGPT about like, basically like, here are the things I need to get accomplished today. And it could create a meditation for you. I've actually done a meditation for travelers, travel creators, that it created a meditation, which I recorded in my own voice. Maybe I should go listen to that again. So you could ask it for maybe even a walking meditation. Maybe you could go walk. And if you need that time out and pep talk and have it do the voice thing back to you. Now, this is not going to replace my therapist at all, but sometimes it could just help me, a pep talk, a meditation, even a little checklist. We could talk it out, right? The third thing, which I think is really helpful, is like decision paralysis. So I'm very indecisive at times because I'm a Sagittarius and I go from like, I'm going to change the world. I also struggle with depression. So I go from, I'm going to change the world and then like slump, like, who do I think I am? Right? Like, so sometimes I get very stuck in indecisiveness, and I think maybe my moon is in Libra. Maybe that's where it comes from. I don't really follow the whole astrology thing, but I recognize that like Sagittarians are free-spirited and they have a lot in common. And as someone who's Christian, I actually believe that's how God created us. So it makes sense because the moon has so much power over water and just how everything is connected. But anyway, side chat on that. Yes, decision paralysis. So if you have like a big decision and if you need to do just like pros and cons, like really list out all the pros and cons. Now, ChatGPT could get a little tricky because sometimes it could lean towards what you want to hear. So maybe in your prompt, you say, hey, I want you to be really impartial, this pros and cons, and help you go through this process, right? So that has been very helpful in some decisions that I have made. It brings other things that I haven't considered for like the pros and cons, which has been really helpful in some decisions. Some people do the whole flip a coin thing. I just think this is easier and it has been helpful for me. So maybe you should try it. One side bonus prompt I'm going to tell you guys that you can use for, which was very revealing about myself and some things. The prompt is, based on our previous conversations, tell me something that I may not know about myself. This was really eye-opening because it came back with something like, even though you say you're impulsive and you have that free spirit, you actually, someone impulsive wouldn't go through the pros and cons like you do in your decision making. So you're not as impulsive as you think you are. So that actually was like relief. That helped me like calm down. Number 4 is actually about skincare routine for me and my husband. Now, maybe this is not so weird, right? But my husband wanted me to buy him skincare. So I'm like, okay. The prompt was like, my husband needs a self-care routine, skincare routine. His skin is, you know, he's 46. His skin's a little on the dry side because of construction. I need something affordable from Ulta. So I specified the store, gave me these products. Another thing is I bought this eye cream from Brazil that the dermatologist there recommended, which was actually hard to find. So I took a picture of this and put it into ChatGPT and said, what would be the US a equivalent, and it came back with some really good suggestions of what I could get here in the US, and also I plan to get that for my husband. The other cool thing is it always comes back and say, hey, do you want me to create a routine for you? Any help with that? It has been really interesting. Or if I'm like, don't know, like, do I use the serum first or the other thing, instead of going to TikTok and watching a bunch of videos? Or I can compare products, right? Like, which one would be better for my skin at the age I am right now, especially going through all the stuff that I'm going through, etc. So these are 4, I guess I would say, weird or unique ways that I'm using ChatGPT. Overall, ChatGPT could be a great ally, and there's other ones that I love using too. For blogging, I love Perplexity. Sometimes I use Claude, and of course there's other ones like for editing, Grammarly, which has everything has an AI feature now, even Canva. So I do use ChatGPT for a lot more things, especially work related. So these are some of the things I'm using ChatGPT for, weird or not. Let me know below, what are you doing? Maybe you have some great ideas, especially for women over 40 like myself. Don't forget to subscribe so you're up to date with the latest episodes of the Fuse Travels world over here. Ciao.